Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Your Spiritual Journey. This is Dr. Bob, and this is the space and the place where we talk about things important to your soul. As always, we ask that you leave comments, like us, and maybe even support us on Patreon. It helps keep us on the air. Today's guest is Patty Elvey, and she's a dedicated student of life, using every experience for learning and greater awareness. Her 40-plus years working with thought leaders and corporate visionaries, spanning the industries of legal tech, quantum AI, media, and healthcare, provides the foundation for her work uniting clients' professional goals with their personal passions. Patty's unique holistic approach uncovers strengths and builds a roadmap for achieving their unrealized dreams. Her debut book, Practicing the Art of Becoming, Patty shares personal insights that inspired and ignited her journey of becoming. She's a longtime resident of Menlo Park, California, and she splits her time between the East and the West Coasts. And Patty just shared with me that she grew up in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and is very familiar with Pittsburgh because she went to the University of Pittsburgh. So we have something in common. So Patty, I'm going to turn the mic over to you to talk about your spiritual journey and how it got you to where you are now, and then I'll ask you some questions. The mic's all yours.
Well, this could be a 3-day conversation. Very quickly, though, I'll try to micro-size it. Honestly, my spiritual journey began when I was 4 days old, and I saw Jesus. So it's been a lifetime of a journey where I feel connected to my partnership with Spirit, and it's been the director in my life and not only my passion, but my security, my emphatic love, my goal for understanding, my commitment to loving, because I think each one of us can be loving and it changes the planet. And I think that's the essence of my spiritual journey. I've made it a priority in my life. My life has had trials and tribulations, and I trust every one of them, the best ones and the most tragic ones. And I seek for the learning in each one. It's one of my favorite chapters. Use everything for your advancement, upliftment, learning, growth, passion, understanding, liberation, and freedom. And it's work. It's hard work, but it's worth every second. It's delightful. It's uplifting for me. And the older I get and the more I practice it, the happier I am for my choices. And it gets a little easier along the way.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite quotes from your book was, "I believe each of us has a unique personal script that directs our awakening to our own divinity, our authentic being." And I was really curious about how you came to that conclusion that we are divine beings, and when did that first occur to you?
The first thing that comes to me is I was pretty young and we were, a big family, and oftentimes I was alone. If you didn't do something well, you had to go off and be on your own. And I don't know what they call it now, quiet time, whatever, break. But it was during those times, and I was young. I was 4, 5, 6 years old, that I always knew I was not alone. I always knew that Spirit was there. I always knew God was there. I had amazing evidence in my experience of hearing God, communing with God, conversations with God. And the same thing when I would go to church. So I think that's how it started.
Yeah.
It was just a confidence in what was there. I was relying always on it. So what I found was people sometimes can't be reliable. They want to be, even if they want to be. Circumstances, situations, they just interfere with people's intentions, but it never interferes with spirit.
Yeah.
Not for me anyway.
So, what was your church upbringing? What
I was
denomination?
I was raised Catholic, so I was in the Catholic Church. I was in love with the dogma. I still am. One of my favorite memories was um, being invited to um, an ordination. I don't know what they call it. A young man who I'd known for many years, and it was mom. And she promised me when he became a priest that they would invite me. And it was many years later. I had moved away. This woman found me. She was an Irish girl. She kept her word. She tracked me down, and she said, her son was being ordained. Is that what it's called in the Catholic
Yeah,
Church? I don't know.
I think so.
But so like the bishop was coming. It was in Philadelphia in a beautiful, beautiful church. And it was a really huge, huge thing. And I went to that. And this was, I was in my 30s probably, but it was one of the most remarkable things ever because the dogma of everybody in that room is so personal and so sacred and so intense. And again, everybody that shows up from the other side, all the angels, everybody, the energy was something that I literally fell to my knees. I could not stand. It
Yeah.
was beautiful. So the Catholic Church has a lot of beauty. My issue with the Catholic Church was from the time I was a little child, I would go to church, but the people didn't have that energy. The people didn't seem to have that. The church had it.
Yeah.
The dogma is there, but the people attending in my community, it was hard. And it was just hard times, people, it's hard being human
Hmm.
and doing your best is all kinds of degrees of things.
Yeah.
So, but I loved church. I really did. I always have. And I still have a church. I have a very committed church where I feel it's my closest way to align with spirit freely. Like even
Hmm.
with Catholic Church, I felt I didn't need a priest to be in the middle because
Yeah.
I already had developed this direct communication. So I'm in a spiritual community now that has that satisfies all of the community that I need and allows me to have the freedom to um, be true to my spiritual growth and expansion and commitment.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
is it known as one of the spiritualist churches, or is it,
It's an ecumenical church. It's a newer church, 1970-ish.
okay?
It's called the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness.
Okay.
It's like everybody. There's pros and cons that people say about it. For me, it's provided um, I think an exampleship where there's people that I know there. Doesn't take many. It just takes one really that I feel has paved the way for something greater that is it's like, okay, if someone can do it that I've seen, I can do it. And that's
Uh,
sort of why that community, because we practice something called soul transcendence, which to me says, let me close my eyes, go into prayer and be transported to the source
hmm.
and then bring that source into me and share that source with every action, thought, and deed.
Yeah.
That's my intention. Yeah.
So you mentioned that when you went to this ordination, uh, you were able to experience the energy of the angels in the room, and so is this uh, an experience that you've had most of your lifetime, that you can experience the energy of other dimensional beings?
I would have to say yes. Yes. There's two parts to that. Part is yes, and the other part is I fought it a long time. There's parts of my life where I denied it, I fought it, I kicked against it, I didn't want to think it's so. I
Uh-huh.
ran from it, and because they were the hard times, they're the growing pains, they are the challenging times. But somebody once told me when we're at our worst, God's at his best. And that's what I think that was my truth because I was never alone, even in that. I was just aware of the pushback that I was experiencing for, I could give you a litany of reasons, I'm sure. Worthiness is one of them. Um, it was too hard to be here. I mean, it's hard, being human and people and situations and understanding. It's hard to understand people, I think.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me because I wanted to understand. I wanted it to make sense,
Uh-huh.
and it doesn't. So when I realized it doesn't need to make sense, I realized, God, please don't let go of me. I'm tired of trying to let go of you. Please don't let go of me. I always say, helping my friends, like I used to kick and scream, like, get out of here, get out of my life. And then it became like, please don't leave me, please don't leave me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the
Thank
chapters of your book deals with the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Uh, and that very much was from a personal experience. Could you talk about that for a minute?
Sure. That's the one I didn't even plan to put that in there. And I was telling a friend, I have a group of women that I speak with, and we meet every month. And somehow or other, I mentioned that, and my friend said very quickly, very loudly, "Put that in your book." And it's like, oh my goodness gracious! So I knew I needed to do that, and um, it was a life changing experience. It was the day I said, "I won't fight anymore." It was the day I surrendered to stop fighting. And it was the night before my 40th birthday because I had told God, like, this is so hard. I'll stay with he kept saying, you can't go yet, you can't go yet. I said, when I'm 40, just let me go. Just let me go. And I told him like that at 11. I told him that at 15. I told him that at 21. Finally, I got to where I said, okay, 40. So it's the night before my 40th birthday. And I was not willing to renegotiate. I was terrified in a way. Um, and I put myself in a dark room. It was hard. And I don't even remember what I put in the book exactly, but truly it was as if fire visited me in a way that could consume me. And I had to make a choice. And what the choice was saying is all the things you think that aren't a part of you, all the things that you judge and have a lot of issues with in other people, anger and rage being the top two, because had experienced a lot of that around me. And I always said, I will never have that. I won't be that. I won't allow myself to feel those things. And that's just not okay, because they're just normal human things. But for 40 years, I lived that way. And it was a facade of not being authentic because it's just a part of being human. But the ways that I kept it inside created, what are they? I guess barriers, created barriers. So here I was in this moment, and in the fire was the language of, you have to embrace me because I'm a part of you. And there's no other way forward to just be the all of how we are as human beings. You can't pick and choose. We're all of it. And you have to embrace me. And I had to. I had no choice than to embrace that fire, embrace that energy, and surrender to that truth because it was a higher truth. And I had been limiting myself and not allowing that kind of completion of being human, my own humanity. And it was so hard. It was terrifying. And then it was done. And then it was peace. It was just done. It just took a minute. I mean, I literally had to embrace this fire. I had to
Yeah.
go into the fire, hold it, and it was gone. And I was done. And I was free of a lot. I mean, by the time I was 40, there was a lot to be free of already. Like the last 30 years have been so much more graceful. And there's enough stuff there, but I live with this risk aspect, and that was a big risk. That was a risk I almost didn't take. If I
Yeah.
hadn't taken that risk, I wouldn't be here. I'm sure of it.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. It's not something I talk about very much, and I didn't expect it today, but I'm willing. I'm really willing. Thank you.
Well, there's so much about risk in your book. And it makes me think of just agreeing to come into this earth plane and experience what we experience is a huge risk in and of itself. And I don't know, I like the way that you talk about the role of risk in life, because it reminds me that we are here to live life. And if we don't take any risks, we might as well not be here. That's the whole point, right?
I totally get it. I get it's like that first breath is the first risk, and we just keep going. But yes, I totally agree. And it's the embracing of the risk that is the empowerment. And they can be little tiny risks. But to give us permission to make those decisions for ourselves and not let them be made for us,
Yeah.
which is the becoming part. Because I say, if you don't make a decision about what you're becoming something anyway.
Uh-huh.
So why not have some direction, some understanding, some awareness, in what's happening
Yeah.
and who you are, who you want to be, and what you want to be like, and what you want to be around, and how you want to serve, how you want to pray, all of it.
So how does that work into this corporate life that you've led? And I picture, because you worked in legal tech and with quantum AI and media and healthcare, that it sounded to me like you were a consultant or worked for a consulting firm. So were you, or did you really have separate
I had
professional
jobs.
Okay.
But there are components of how I am that I bring in the environment. But no, I had a career and working in different. I had good fortune because I never went looking for a job. I was always recommended. People came to me. They showed up for a long, long time, from the time I was a kid. So I always feel as though Spirit directs my life. I show up, and he makes sure I'm there for purpose. And which is another reason why I think my career has been varied. I never saw myself having one job, like,
Yeah.
my family, my mom, like so many people have a job and they keep the job and they retire from the job. And I was very young and I knew that was not going to be my path. I didn't know why, but I was so clear. And it's because there was so much for me to learn, so many different things,
Uh-huh.
like, just so many things to experience. It's like where the sum of our experiences, and Spirit put me there. Someone said something to me. I don't know what your position is on this or point of view, but I had heard someone say, we are made in his image. Of course, that's not a surprise. But the purpose of that is because God can't be himself here. So we are doing the experiences of God to give it back to him so he understands how it is to be here. And he picked me to be somebody strong, I believe, who couldn't handle a lot of experiences. It's very emotional to really be here for him and to have this broad and varied range, from being, a waitress and, to being next to a senator. It's like, it's really been beautiful and I'm grateful. And it's always been about learning, contributing, and showing up as a servant of him. I never kept that secret anywhere. I didn't have to say much. People always, I think people recognized there was something about me, but I knew it was there. And I'm the only one that needed to know, like, I'm bringing God here in everything I do. But I do it at the grocery store, I do it when I drive, doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Well, you can't hide the light. it's it's there and people see it.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that's
It,
that's just the way it is. Uh, but when you said you don't know where I stand on that, that's I agree with that concept. I'm all in on that
it's a beautiful
concept
thing.
that we are the
That's
hands
how
and
you
feet of God, and this is how God experiences. That's our job to
Yes.
help God have experiences.
And I want them to have a great time.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of it because the sojourn may be a lot of work, but it's meant to be
Yeah.
joyful. It's meant to be great and enjoyed and have a wonderful experience and share it and just be that love that God is. So
Yes.
okay,
In
so
service, service of
at
his
some
will.
point you said, "All right, I'm going to write a book." Or did you say that at all? And you just heard God say, "Okay, you're going to write a book." and,
Well, I've been saying I was going to, I've always known I would write. I just needed to know, let him tell me when. That's a funny way to put it. But, I came in as, I think I wrote in the book, I came in as an observer of life, a witness, and a scribe. That's how I always saw it. Things were always very clear to me from the time I was really, 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 really young. And words are important to me, descriptive um, ways of expressing what I was seeing, feeling, experiencing, and the empathetic aspect of what I was experiencing in others. So there was all of that, and I just kept doing life. And I wanted to write, and I love words. I love the clarity of words. Words create a lot of confusion in our world. But I moved from Pennsylvania to California in 1996. I was half-time there in 97. I was there permanent. I moved to Ojai, California. I don't know if you've ever been. It's quite remarkable and beautiful, and it's where the angels come to pray. That's my opinion. And I thought, I'm going to write my book. I'm coming to write my book. 1996 wasn't happening. And then I got this job, and that just sort of put me on a whole new journey of what I was meant to experience. And there was no way I ever had a clue that it was time to write the book during those next, from 96 to whenever I wrote this book, a year and a half ago. It wasn't time. It wasn't time. And then I got my degrees in spiritual science and my degrees in spiritual psychology. They were instrumental. The people that I met, the jobs that I did, the work that I did, experiencing the world from, the point of view of thought leaders and people who really, they're servants. They really are servants. These people that are brilliant, that change things. Like with legal tech, we changed the practice of law in the United States forever. And it was wonderful. And, Huffington Post and Ariana and what she did globally changed media. And I was there, front row, firsthand. It was wonderful. So all of these things were meant for me. And when I retired, I knew it was time to write. So that's when I wrote this book in 4 months, and I could have probably written it in 2. I didn't didn't try very hard, but it was fun. I had a spot. I developed a spot. It's like it's time, and I had written down 40 chapters. Now only 13 of them are in this book. I'll write 3 more on this topic.
Yeah.
That's what he's shown me, and I'm in the process of finishing one by January. And then I'm doing a case study with a friend that is talking about what it's like to become someone he's always wanted to be, and challenges of life get in the way, and the intention and so on, and how I need some help. He prayed for help, and I prayed for help, and he's helping me with my physicality, and I'm helping him with his beingness, and we're having a blast in learning, and we're going to put it in a book. So it will make a difference for people to recognize what it feels like on the other side of this, and I think it's going to be fun. So then I put my 40 chapters together, and I began the process of finding out how to get a book made, and found my friend Katie. And then we found a publisher that was really aligned with my interests that I work with. And then I started writing. I had to send them one chapter, which I did. I had a chapter started whenever I did that. And once we had a plan, I finished writing the book, and I was on time for every single part of it, which made me so happy. I was always right on time. I need this by this date. It was done. And God wrote it. Trust me, he's everywhere in my life, has always been, but more so now than ever in the most extraordinary ways, which I think it's wonderful that you're my first thing. I would have never expected this conversation, but boy, it feels freeing, to be honest, this way.
Yeah, it's interesting how guests come to me, because I used to just have to go out and find them, and now I have more coming directly to me than me going out to find them. It's
That's
still a
great.
mix, but if you're meant to be on, you'll be here, and the right person is going to be listening, who's going to really have their life changed by what you have to say. I don't know who in our audience will have that experience, but one of them will. It happens all the time.
Wonderful.
Okay, so there are some concepts in your book. One is the concept of a palette, and that you're painting a picture, and you bring in different colors that you use on your palette. So why the reference to a palette, and are you deeply involved in some artistic endeavor beyond writing that made you use that?
Well, honestly, the way that showed up as I was writing, because it was not intentional, but how I experience life is always as if it's a tapestry. My life's a tapestry, and there's different colors. And I don't know why that's my experience, my visualization of the tapestry of life. We weave together stories, we weave together people, we weave together experiences, emotions. And for me, they're always in color, however that creative imagination is. And I have a personal experience where, as I see things and see color, there are frequencies in the color and tones, and I call them radiations in the colors. Sometimes they're not physical. There's times that colors have a particular look. It's like the colors are lit from the inside. And I just feel that aspect, when those things show up, it's spiritual. It just
Yeah.
is. It's not seeing an angel. It's a color thing. It can be a lot of things, but this tapestry has that in it. This way of life that I look at, or I might have like this. This might show up as a thread of pink in my tapestry.
Yeah.
I don't know why pink, but that's the one that's there. Loving, So I thought your name was Bob Love, by the way. It's Dove. But I kept seeing you as Love, which is maybe what that pink's about. But anyhow, I make these references. But so the in the book, the first time it came up was it resonated so heartfully with me, and I just allowed it. So in different chapters, I don't know that it's in every chapter, but it was authentic and it was honest. It was in the moment, and I relate to it, and I'm sure that'll continue. So I'm not an artist, but I do see in color. I see
Uh-huh.
visually um, beautiful things that are represent something greater than just me here now. And it was very sweet for me to have these different things come in, phrases that I've never said before that are there in the book. It was very much a fluid.
Mhm.
Um, I can call it, it's just a flow. I really want to live my life that it's always his flow through
Yeah.
me, grace, if allowed. If not grace, it is what it is. Sometimes it's hard, but grace and ease is nice. But it was a pleasure, incredible pleasure to write the book and a risk, a huge risk. I have no idea what people are going to think of my book or me, um, but it was imperative, and I love my book. I really do. So the palette is part of all of that. It's just
Yeah.
my way of being honest to the word, and the word that shows up is the word that I write,
Yeah.
and I think we all have ways of using color if we stop and breathe it in a little bit and recognize that we're a tapestry, and
Right.
that came up in the book as a palette in the word. Yeah.
Yeah, I recently interviewed Helen E. Plen, who's Chinese, and she channeled a book called The Aura Color Wheel.
Ah.
And at the end of the interview, after we were off camera, I asked her to do a short aura reading for me. And because of the different colors of the chakras, you can get a pretty good sense of a person if you're really in tune with seeing colors. And that's something she obviously is in tune with. She can see people's auras and what colors they are, and gives her an idea of who they are at that moment, what they're feeling and experiencing. So it gives her insight that helps her with therapy then that she does with people. But and I've had Leanne Heitzel on who really does these inspired paintings that you can look at, and like any good art, people see different things when they look at her paintings. But they're meant to be looked at and meditated upon, and people have mystical experiences just from her artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'm very much in tune with the idea of the vibration of color, and how that's important, just as sound vibration is for us.
Yes.
And different people have different skills and are adept at either tuning into sound a lot or tuning into the visual. Depends on which of your senses are the most heightened. Yeah,
Yes. Or what's before you in the moment. The sound is important to me in my meditation,
yeah,
and the color's beautiful. I mean, I respect that skill very highly.
yeah,
You know, I don't see it, but I see when I can see other people seeing it, which might sound strange, but I've seen people, I've seen ours because through someone else's eyes in weird ways. The first time I was 14, and we went to a psychic to do a tarot reading. My girlfriend and I had to write a paper for school. But when I walked into this man's room, It's a person, he was looking at someone and I could see between. It was very interesting. It was a big awareness. It was like, oh my goodness, this is interesting. So through time now and then, but it's powerful stuff
Yeah.
and beautiful, helpful, and information, and it's all aligned with his will.
Well, what made me think of it was when you mentioned that we're a tapestry, and it's really in more ways than one. It's not just with color.
Yeah.
We're each one of us has these capabilities and possibilities within us, and it just depends on where our intention goes, and what we choose, what choices we make in terms of what we're going to focus on and what we're going to ignore. Like you said, a lot of your abilities, you ignored them as much as you could, or
Yes.
tried to suppress them, but they're
Yeah. Fought
there.
them hard.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And the writing was part of it. I mean, the word, it's more like the word, and then just trusting it, trust is a huge part of it, all of it.
yeah.
And you trusting to do this work and put it out for people to find you and to be able to use what they learn here or hear here. It's
Well, it's
good.
another one of those things that wasn't a choice. I was Spirit directed me to do this, and at the time I pretty much said, well, what's a podcast? And I had to do a lot of research and background work to figure out what it was I was supposed to do. But once you are doing what you're supposed to do, it just flows.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
I'll keep that in mind because I'm just starting. I do think this is what I'm supposed to do, is speak openly this way and write these books and commune this way. And this is just the new for me. It's still new for me,
yeah.
but it's wonderful. Be here with you, and you make a space for this that's very comforting. And thank you.
So one of the fun surprises in your book for me was early on with your focus on lying. And I
Ah,
thought, boy, that's an interesting take on lying and how people present themselves to each other. So could you talk about that a little bit, and uh, why the focus on lying?
well, it really wasn't focused. It was again. There were 40 chapters, and it meant something to. I think can only say that must have meant something to me. And then you think, where do I put it in the book? It just came up really early. But I think what's important to me is personally, the truth is really a critical touch point, because there's been a lot of lies around me, a lot of lies that affected me, including that one so early. It's because God told us not to lie. I'm a big commandment person. I got very impressionable as a kid in the church, where the people that gave me that information, I trusted implicitly. And there were people in my life I trusted implicitly. And the tragedies that followed were completely a result of trust and lies. So it's a powerful topic for me. And it was something that was meant for me to help me learn along the way to become who I am. All of these lessons are meant for me to become honest. It's my affirmation begins with I am honest, by the way. My lifetime affirmation that I've recently committed to. But being honest to me is just like, it's not negotiable. So that's probably why I wrote the chapter, because that lying to a child, to a grown-up, it doesn't matter. It's outside, in my awareness, the realm of God's will. But we're human, so we do things outside of God's will all the time. So it's all God's will. But for me, it had a profound impact. Watching people lie to each other is still to this day really painful for me. And then I'm really not supposed to get involved just because I know it's a lie. So
Yeah.
there's quite a lot about this whole topic. I could write a book about this topic, But what I learned was how I experienced it, like when that happened with my father, and knowing I was so close to my mom and I would have to withhold, which to me in this
Mhm.
situation was the same as a lie. Um, as I wrote the book and made my decisions to have altitude, reflect, relook, review from a consciousness of now, it was beautiful to me to recognize the reason that I could understand the lies were happening, because it's hard being human. And my father, I don't think he ever meant to lie. I mean, this woman was lying to her husband. He was lying to me. She was lying to everybody. Everybody was lying to everybody. It was, it's hard, but it was them finding solace wherever they could, the best way they could, and letting the lie not interfere, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
But sometimes people do that. They just look for the solace. They look for the moment. They look for some peace, Peace, that is unfortunately fleeting. Does it make it worth the lie? Probably not, but in the moment they don't know it and then they deal with it later.
Yeah.
But I do understand people making those choices in another way. Do I wouldn't encourage it, but that's not up to me. I can't encourage it for me. I'm really vigilant at looking at that and I slip. There's no doubt about it, but it's one of my it's like a really high end pay attention to this every day.
Yeah.
Um, am I being honest? Am I being honest? And honest is, it doesn't necessarily mean there's no lies. It's the strangest thing. Am I honest to a situation where maybe not being completely truthful is the best solution for the well-being of everybody involved? That's a very sophisticated answer. And yet it's an honest answer about truth and lies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh, I guess when I read that chapter, I thought, this is probably, and I think every chapter deals with a concept that resonates with the human condition, so that we can all identify with whatever you're addressing in that chapter. But jumping into lying that early is like, there isn't anybody who cannot identify with having told lies, either in the face of thinking they're protecting somebody else, or they're keeping pain away from somebody. And, they're not looking at the benefit that they're gaining from from telling the lie, that there's a real personal reason for
Yeah,
lying,
yeah.
that and we lie to ourselves about the reason why we're lying. uh, and I was really able to do sort of a quick life review and say, yep, here's where I did that. And I told myself I was protecting somebody, but really I was protecting me. It was, and
It's
you know,
thank you for sharing.
well, it's
Yeah,
it's it's
yeah,
something that, I don't know, I guess is part of the human condition, because
yeah.
we lie out of compassion too. Uh,
Well, it started in the I mean, it's been going on for the whole time.
right, yeah,
Um, and there's reasons, and then it's identifying that and then finding out. Honestly, something that I've learned is it's the truth will set you free is what just came to mind, but there's room for the truth.
yeah,
It's about how it's delivered and the decision to be truthful and live with the consequences.
uh-huh,
Because
yeah,
the other people around us may not have that same desire. Like, I wish you'd kept the lie.
yeah.
It's a very interesting component. And it's funny, I put it in the book early and I didn't know why, but the most feedback I've had is the impact of that chapter
Yeah.
up
No,
until now.
I mean, it's Cain and Abel, it goes,
Yeah, yeah, it's so
it
but
goes
it
way
is,
back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the part of me that was, again, I have to say, part of me doesn't believe I wrote a single word. It came from spirit, but it was my life. It is my life. It was my experience. And I think part of me wrote that book from the innocence of an 8-year-old. I wrote
Mm,
that chapter came from that girl sitting in the car watching my father. I did have an afterthought about that, by the way, which was much
okay.
more recent, which was that when I saw him in the window, I realized, you know what? He was making sure I was okay. He looked out to make sure I was okay in the
Mm,
midst of everything that was going on. And that to me is incredibly loving
yeah.
amidst the pain of it all and everything. It's like, what was he? I don't know. I never in all these years thought of that. And it came to me recently. It's like, wow, he really was at the window because he was making sure I was okay.
Mhm.
Although he knew I would never leave the car if he said not to, because I listened. I wanted to be good because God made me good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. So I guess I want to say before we wrap up on lies is that in juxtaposition to me reading the chapter, I guess I had a heartfelt conversation with my wife, and we recommitted ourselves to honesty, uh, because typically in a spousal relationship, the lies are just omissions, and we
Yeah.
don't call them lies. It's just if I don't say anything, then it's, you know, whatever that is doesn't exist. So, it's, I don't know, it's a good chapter. It's very helpful. And
Thank
if you apply what you learn from that, you don't need to read the rest of the book. That's,
Maybe that's why it's in the beginning. I would hope to encourage people to read the rest of the book.
yeah.
But
I'm
that's
just
okay. If
saying,
people
if
reach
that's
out
all
to
you
that
get
chapter,
out of the book,
I'm okay with
it's
that.
plenty, you know.
Thank you. That's
So
beautiful.
it's
And thank you. That is beautiful. That
there
is
are just
beautiful.
so many touch points there, and it would take much longer than the time of this podcast to go through them all. Uh, but there's something that you stress, and that is practice, 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 practice,
Yes.
and there's so much truth in the need for that.
Yeah.
Uh,
It never ends. It
yeah,
never stops. We're never done practicing. And I suspect standing at the pearly gates, I'm going to be practicing that. I can get it right for the rest. You're going to be if there's like, did I practice enough? Am I practicing now?
yeah.
It's really fun. Yeah.
Well, the chapter that
It takes the
say
pressure off too.
points to gratitude.
Yeah.
You can never practice that enough
Yeah.
because there's just so much to be grateful for, and you need to remind yourself, or at least I should just speak for me. I need to remind myself of all the things that are to be grateful for. And any time I'm feeling upset or angry or concerned, if I can go back to gratitude, all that negative stuff goes away.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had an amazing awareness a couple years ago. Loving has always been my keynote,
Hmm.
my anchor. Um, and gratitude, absolutely. But there was something that happened. I don't remember what, but I remember is like, oh my goodness, there is this depth of gratitude that's way deeper than even loving goes. And that was, I mean, all I can tell, I can see myself crying like crazy at the time, whatever it was, I don't know. But I know that feeling of like, wow, I'm so grateful to know the depth is continuing, but how powerful gratitude is.
Yeah.
It it is it'll cure anything. I really believe that. It'll take away the pain of anything. Forgiveness is a nice second, you know,
Yeah.
like it's kind of like the peanut butter between the gratitude sandwich. It keeps it sticks the bread together, but forgiveness is a huge, huge, huge part of it. And I think I wrote a chapter on forgiveness,
Yes,
which is a
yeah.
nice to
Yeah, you wouldn't dare
but
skip that.
yeah, it's top 10. It's top 10 for sure. But yeah, yeah. So
So in one of the chapters, you talk about the importance of listening to your heart. And that's a concept that some people have a hard time with, I think, because the question is, well, how do I listen to my heart? How do I know it's my heart speaking to me? And how do I listen to it? So maybe you could talk about that for a couple minutes.
the first thing that comes to my awareness when you ask that is you have to be quiet to listen to your heart. I think my
Mhm.
experience is get quiet. That's where you start and recognize. I mean, you can touch your heart, get physical with it, ask, where's this information coming from? Is it coming from my mind? Is it coming from my toe? Is it coming from my sister? Is it coming from my teacher? Or is it coming from someplace inside me? And inside me, is it coming from my brain or is it coming from my heart? And I trust my heart. And I actually have a habit of trying to purposefully ask, can what I'm about to say be filtered through my heart so that I don't speak my mind, which is much more limiting than my heart, which is connected to eternal wisdom, eternal truth, spiritual wisdom. It's not my mind that's connected to that, it's my heart. So that's what listening with my heart means to me. And it's a practice. It's an intention for starters that, okay, I think that's true for me. Yeah, that can be true for me. And so now I start to practice. What does that feel like? What if I ask myself, do I get a different message if it's coming from my mind or from my friends, from the projections of my history, from the projections of the world, um, from the projections of my memory of other times and other places? Or is it coming from right here, right
Mhm.
now, where I'm touching my heart? And listen, and it's like that surprising. Of all my years of all the work I've done, all the study, all the thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of hours in classrooms doing this kind of work, I never recognized the word heart had the word here in it till I wrote this book.
Yeah.
That was brand new. I was like, wow, how did I miss that? How did I miss that? So it
Yeah.
also has art, which is funny, practicing the art of becoming. But I just missed it, and I'm a word person. I am a word person, and
Mhm.
how did I miss that? But it was meant to come through now when I was writing,
Yeah.
and again, a lot of things came through now when I was writing, but that one is very true for me because I had to find my way to understand my knowing,
Yeah.
and my knowing comes from what I call the unknowable, becomes known eventually. And
Mhm.
so that doesn't come mentally in my world for myself. The knowing that I trust
Yeah.
is listening with my heart.
Okay. There's something that you mentioned uh, that I didn't have in your bio, and that is that you got a degree in spiritual something. So what
Spiritual
was
science,
spiritual
spiritual
science?
psychology. I
Okay.
have 2 degrees. It's on my LinkedIn, by the way.
Uh,
But I have a master's degree in spiritual science, and I'm in the process of a doctorate degree. I've started that years ago, and I still practice what I learned in the beginning, and I just haven't finished, but
uh-huh.
just more work.
Yeah.
I mean, being a spiritual scientist is the epitome of using everything for your advancement, upliftment, learning, and growth. It's using methods of tracking, like how do I know if I have a stomach ache? Well, why do I have a stomach ache? Let me scientifically find out why and ask those questions and allow spirit to lead. And
Yeah.
that's part of it. Like um, spiritual science to me has been profoundly useful in my life and how I live and how I learn and how I know
Yeah.
myself, because really get to know. I don't know anybody else. We can commune about it, but I can't commune well if I don't know myself.
So I'm
That's what
assuming
I
quantum physics is part of this spiritual science you're looking at?
No, not really.
No?
Not really. It's a
Okay.
very personal, individual practice. And it's tools for how to do that. So I don't think it is. If there is, I never knew it was called that. It's
Okay.
uh, it's more of practical. It's practical spirituality. Is really what it is. Very
Okay.
practical, very usable, very unique to each of our individual journeys. And
Yeah.
the spiritual psychology is rooted in psychology and again, practical spirituality, practical psychology, practical usability and communication in um, unraveling sort of, for me anyway, it's any situation you pull back, everything has layers, you pull
Uh-huh.
back all the layers, you get to the essence of what the heck's going on and what can I do about it? How can that serve me? Is there a way for this to serve others and make that part of who I am?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You also discuss the power of affirmations in your book,
Yeah.
and you use affirmations yourself. And one of my thoughts was, well, a lot of people I know who come out with books have come out with an affirmation deck, which is basically
Um,
the affirmations that they use, and they want to share them uh, with an audience that will appreciate the use of affirmations. So, has that crossed your mind that you want to come up with an affirmation deck at some point?
Well, there's certainly I have enough of them that I could easily make a deck. What I would like to do is a journal that would have statements
Okay.
of affirming statements. Mostly, I like to encourage people to come up with their own. That's something that will be my first mini class. Will be about affirmations. Where I'd love to help people because it's very powerful not to affirm what you don't want. A lot of people don't recognize. Again, it's the power of words. And somebody told me the affirmation, every word should be worth $1,000,000.
Hmm.
So you don't want to put too many words in there. And if you put a lot of words, make them count. They need to be $1,000,000 words. And I've been using since my first affirmation, which I wrote about, where I couldn't come up with a word. I couldn't come up with anything good about me. I mean, I was 40 years old, 35, I think, maybe. But it was like I still wasn't in that place in my life where I could identify with anything positive. And that was the most telling moment as I started this journey of self-awareness, of simple awareness, recognition. And that was very, 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 very painful, very hard that I just couldn't speak words that were positive. Everybody around me did. Oh, say this, say that, like you're this, you're that. And it's like, I just never wanted, I didn't relate. I couldn't relate.
Yeah.
There's still a few of those early words I still have a hard time with, and that's okay. But I do have an affirmation that's very much true, and the one that I'm going to take with me. I can't imagine it changing, but it came through at the end of my spiritual psychology degree the last weekend. And again, I'm talking, I was sitting there, they gave the command or the directions like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna do an affirmation." My hand started writing. I didn't have anything to do with this
Uh-huh.
affirmation. Like, where are these words, you know? It's like, this is not I never they didn't pass through my mind at all. They went straight to from my heart to the pen, and,
So you're going to
it's
share
something
that with us now, right?
you know, if you want me, I will. This will be my first this is my outing. But
Okay.
I did say in the book, you can find it on my website, but it's it's very authentic. So my name is Patty, and I am honest, anchored into the very center of the heart of God, loving my soul's divine journey, becoming God's holy breath.
Okay. And what I would say about that affirmation is it is such a good reminder that, if you say that over and over again, you can't help but feel it. That this is me. This is who I am. And it's a great I am statement. I love it.
Thank you. Well, I've used hundreds and hundreds of them over the years. It's my favorite. And in the practice of affirmations, when I first learned them, is you say them 100 times a day or more for 33 days. That really helps them become alive and anchored into us. I mean, it's sort of like, okay, now after that many days, there's an educational aspect of change.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been saying this one for several years, and something happened that was surprising to me. Becoming God's holy breath to me meant something because I've been with people when they take their last breath many times. I minister in that way. And there's something that I would see that happens. There's a transference, and it's as if what I saw, that exhale, which if you've ever been with somebody at that time, there is an exhale. And it's as if God takes that breath back and takes you back with it. And so to me, that last breath is becoming God's holy breath
Yeah.
again. And that's how I meant it. And so I've been saying this for years. And I don't have to wait till then. I didn't have to wait. He's already allowed me to become his holy breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a powerful thing for all of us that I didn't know. Yeah. Because he's always right there.
Yeah.
So this brought me to that I did not expect. And that was shocking. One day it's like, oh my God, it already happened. This is great.
So the episode prior to yours being aired is an interview with a death doula.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
Did you
you're
you've already done it?
yes. So so she'll be on just the week before yours is.
That's
And
I see it. That's
what your comments reminded me of, the job of a death doula.
great.
So when you made that comment, is that because you do work with hospice, or what puts you in that
I
position, that situation?
well, I'm an ordained minister in my church, and there was just a long time ago, um, one of our nonprofit organizations does a lot of service in the community outside even our ministry community.
Yeah,
And somebody had called her and said, "My mother's dying. She's going to be passing in the next day or two. Can you help me? We need somebody. Can you send somebody?" And they weren't from our church, but they had somehow heard about this situation or this woman, or so I don't know how they called. It was just one of those moments. And she called me.
yeah,
And she called me because she said I was the first one that came to mind. And she says, are you available to go? And I said, okay. I'd never done something like that, but sure, absolutely.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and so that was the first time I was a part of that. And then our church actually developed a an organization, an arm of our organization where we call
Yeah.
it Circle of Light. And, we do prayers for people and somebody can go. You can have ministers show
Yeah.
up. And then I've had friends who've passed, many friends, one of which was George Carlin,
Oh, wow.
who I worked for. I was with him, but I think the whole purpose, I was sent to him and him to me. I worked with him for several years, but I was with him when he passed.
Yeah.
And he needed me there. He wanted me there. He called me there. And it was extraordinary. But there is something, there's the frequency, there's the vibration, there's the light. I've been around several times where it's profound, and a profound exit, a superiorly profound, radiant exit.
Yeah.
But that holy breath is always a part of it, in my experience, up until now anyway. And it's not something I seek out anymore,
Yeah.
or anything like that. But it's something I recognize, and I learned something in being around, friends, the hospital beds of friends who've been passing, and
Right.
there's something very beautiful.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. And I usually give the guest an opportunity to leave a few words of wisdom. Since we're out of time, you only have a minute.
I can do it in seconds.
Okay.
Did I sign I signed your book, right? I don't
Yes, you
have one of my
did.
signed books. If you open the cover and look at the what I said,
Okay.
that's all I have to say. What does it say? It's before, yeah, there we go.
It says,
In green.
to Dr.
What's
Love.
it? I'm so sorry.
No, I love people calling me Dr. Love. Be you with love. Always, Patty.
There you go. That's
Okay.
it. That's all I have to say. Be you with love. And that came to me in a dream. It's like, how am I going to sign my books? And God showed me exactly that. And I have it on a stand. And look at my website,
Okay.
Risk. And if I may, as a new author, I was advised to just remind people please read my book. I love my book. I really hope you will. And if you do, would you leave me an Amazon review? Because as a first-time author, it somehow speaks volumes.
Okay. Tell people what your website is, the website address.
risktobecome.com.
Okay.
risktobecome.com. And then there's a link to my book there. There's a whole book section. And thank you this is a nice kickoff to my podcast life. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us, Patty. So, as always, audience, take what you've heard, incorporate what resonates with you and your life, put the rest on a shelf until you're ready to deal with it. And until next time, this has been your spiritual journey.